Hi, my name is Ray Burke. My pronouns are they, them, and I am I'm here from Ontario, Canada, specifically Oakville, the Halton District School Board is where I'm from. Let me just share my screen quickly. Can you see that?
We can.
Okay, awesome. So this is more of a research project for me. Today, I'm going to be doing my presentation on, it's going to be on how students think. And honestly, some of just the ideas that I came up with of how we can just make our school a better, much easier system. But this is specifically for, some of these will be readable for some of the students that might be watching now, but if they're not, these are some of the problems I've seen mainly in the Halton District School Board. So if you can't relate to this, that might be why, because it's more specifically to my area. So a little introduction on what I've been doing is the reason why I'm here is because I am honestly just so grateful to be in the education system, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. And I want to do the best I can to help all of my peers and students around me succeed to their best. And I just want to always be improving the school system so that, because us as students, we are what is the foundation of the school system. Us, the students, we play such a big part in that. So I think it's really important to have output from students about how our schools should change. And the reason why I decided that I thought it would be a good idea to bring it globally is because these are some of the main big ideas that I think really need to be heard around the world and just need to be changed. So I brought some data in from some of my peers. I did a survey. I've done some research myself, and I actually also, someone who helped me with this project is going to be co-hosting tomorrow. I don't know, I think you probably know Yanina. She helped me start this, my ideas for this. We go to the same school. She's graduating this year. And so I have to pay credit to her for helping me out with this. So without further ado, I would love to start. So today what I'm going to be talking about is three key things. So first, just a bit of an explanation. I was really interested in sleep and some of the research behind that. So that's what we'll be talking about first. Then the second thing we'll be talking about assessments, which is also one of the main ideas I had. And then third, finally, is some of the data I collected from my surveys and just some other ideas that I had that are more on the psychological side. And then finally, just a quick conclusion. So let's start off with some information about sleep. So this is just a quick graph that I was lended to by author Heather Darwell Smith, and I was just obsessed with her book. This is where I started really getting interested in sleep. This is why this is the main part of my biological part. So right now we're going to be mainly focusing on years 6 to 17. So as it says here, for 6 to 13 years, sleep needs are still high, but school requirements and extracurricular activities mean bedtime becomes slightly later. And it's easy for the body to change that, so that's not much of a problem. But I think our main problem comes in when we get to the years 14 to 17, when many teens, including me, start puberty and a shift in their circadian rhythm and their body clock means that teenagers need sleep later. They're often unable to do so because of their schedules in school. As next year, when I go to high school, my school is going to start at 8 o'clock. And I know for many students, that's definitely a difficult time to start their day at. So I'm going to be talking about how a solution for that in a few slides. So next here is something really interesting that I found is how to create your school schedule depending on the different hormones and how things are peaking throughout the day. So unfortunately, I didn't have the time to finish my full schedule planner before I presented today, but I am almost done. So if anyone would like to see it, my email will be at the end of the presentation and I would love to share it with people. But what I have now is a little graph of some of the times that are best to have certain subjects. For one, as you can see, from 8 to 9, you have your sharpest, from 7 to 9, you have your sharpest blood pressure rises, which is when hopefully most people are starting to like wake up because they're getting that, their blood pressure is changing and their cortisol is starting to run. Then 10 through 11, if you are able to change your schedule, because I know once you get to grades 11 and 12, you're able to change your schedule and it's a much more flexible system than it is for 9, 10, and 8. So if you are able to, this is a good time to plan to have your math or science because it's the time with the highest alertness because of just like an increase in cortisol and it's your peak in logical reasoning. So this is a really good time to do your math work, your science work. This is a really good time. So we don't have to talk about cortisol anymore. It goes on for until about 6. It keeps running strong like that. But around 2 or 3 and 5, from 2 to 5 is a good time to, if you can, schedule any physical activity. Some people do rather do it in the mornings, but it's a really good time to do it from 2 to 5 because it's not too close to sleeping. But also you have your fastest reaction times and best coordination. So if you can plan to have gym then, that's a really good thing too. And then around 5, you have your greatest cardio efficiency and muscle strength. So that's a good time to schedule that too. And also, it's also a good time to use some of the trickier subjects because you have peak serotonin at around 2 to 3, and sometimes you'll get it at 4 too. And that's your mood stabilizer. So you'll most likely be the most calm around then. So for some people, it might be easier to do certain subjects then because you're the most calm and just the most well-rounded when it comes to your thoughts. So like I said, I have a graph of a schedule planner I've been doing because of my research here, but unfortunately it's not ready. So I will be able to email it to anyone who would like to see it in the next few days afterwards. So just quickly running over, because there is a big difference between the sleep changes of teens versus youth. So youth, there's not much change, except for very young youth from ages 3, then they're changing from their infant years, but otherwise starting at 6, there's less need for sleep changes. You might need to change a bit for extracurricular activities, but what's really important at this stage of your life is to learn about how the body is going to change, sleep-wise included, and how that is part of puberty, because we learn about puberty, but sleep is just such an important part of your life that you need to learn about. And then in teens, there's major sleep changes because of hormone imbalances and things are changing. And you need to learn how to adjust your sleep schedule properly, which is what we are going to be talking about now, which is something that I also researched a bit, which is called sleep training. And so many people recognize the phrase sleep training for sleep training your babies, but you can also sleep train as a teenager or have to sleep train your teenager as a parent. So it's just a way to, it's fairly simple, really. It's just slowly changing your sleep schedule just by 15 minutes, 30, even 15-minute intervals to slowly change your sleep schedule to meet the requirements for your schooling. So you just, because of how just puberty is and how the hormones run when you're a teenager, you're going to have the tendency to wake up later. Fall asleep later and wake up later. So, but if you slowly train yourself to maybe every 2 weeks or every month, you just slowly start to go to bed 30 minutes earlier and wake up 30 minutes earlier. You can slowly adjust to what you might need for your school, which is especially important from 8 to 9, because there's a lot of times there's a big change in what time the school starts. So I've been doing this for a while. to get used to some of my schedules in school, and I've personally found it really helpful. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about in the biological side is screen time. Before I start quickly talking about this is something that is totally up for interpretation, because I know the rules are different in any family, but personally, after meeting some of my younger cousins and asking some of the parents and children and just observing around me, this is what I think is best for children. If we're talking ages 3 to 6, not much is necessary. This is the time that it's best for them to see the world first person. An hour a day or less is best. It's just not necessary. For youth 6 to 12, it's good to limit screen time, but it's important not to completely cut them off from it, because this is just a crucial time for them, because they're born digital natives, and digitality is going to be a big part of their school. So they need to learn what it is, but also using an acceptable time. And then for teenagers, more screen time is okay, because I know personally I needed a lot for my school purposes. And after slowly getting used to it, it's more acceptable to have in larger chunks of time. So next, I'm going to quickly talk about my assessment, my ideas with assessments and standard assessments and how that needs to be changed, which is one of my main focuses, which I'll run over quickly. So why is this so important to me? The reason why this is so important to me is, honestly, it all started in the start of 2022. This is where my ideas really started. It's where I began this journey. It started when I did a Halton District School Board, where I live in Ontario. I went to this meeting called the Super Council with parents, teachers, and a few students, just to talk about what they want to change. And as I was thinking about it, I just thought of this assessment thing, and I was thinking about all the people in my class and how much better they could do if they had a chance to show their way of learning through their learning style. Because I know a lot of my friends most of our tests are on paper in Halton and in Ontario. And we do have a few chances to present things in an auditory way, but I have a lot of friends who learn best when it's kinesthetic, and their grades when they're doing something visual aren't as good as they are when, or as high as they are when they're doing something where they can just like feel it, build it. And I just found that, and I found that a lot of them are just so much happier when they're doing that. So I think it's really important to have different options, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So the second thing I did was I met with my school board trustee, with Yanina, and we talked about some of our ideas, some of which I'll be mentioning later, and just what we thought of that. So we told her about it. She liked it. She's trying to sort of push that right now, but in the meantime, I'm trying to spread the word of this idea as far as I can, because I really just believe it's such a simple idea that would just make it so much easier to succeed for so many more students. And then third, I brought it to my school personally. Nina made a video for the staff in our school, the principal and the vice principal, to show at one of their staff meetings, just to tell them about some of the things that we thought needed to change in our school, because we wanted things to happen faster than they were already going. So we were trying everything, and now in the fourth place, I am bringing it globally to try to spread the word all over the world of some of my ideas of how simple it is just to change some of our schooling systems and how much easier we can make it to succeed. So before I move on, I'll just show you these two pieces of data. I took a survey of some of my peers through grades 7, 8, and some 6. The first question I asked is, do you think tests are good for your learning style? And 40% said maybe, and 22% said no. So maybe and no covered quite a bit more than 50%, which I found, even though there is quite a bit of people who it's working for, because visual is the most common type of learning, there is a lot of people who are still not getting what they need to succeed as well as they can, and just really see how they can do so much better if they just get a chance to show it their way. And then the second thing I asked is everyone's learning style being accounted for? 61% said kind of. In retrospect, I should not have added this idea because I assumed a lot of people would say that. And then 12% said no, 26.3 said yes. And so that's still quite a fair bit. And so I think this is something that really needs to change. So I'm constantly working on this whenever I can to try to just get this on board, because I just think it's so important for students to have multiple options that fit them best to succeed. So now I'm going to go quickly through some of my other ideas. Yes.
I don't think that we're going to have time to go through more on the slide if we can squeeze a couple questions in for you.
No problem. No problem.
Okay. I mean, let me tell you this. You're just it's just brilliant to start with. The whole thing is just brilliant. And it's
Thank you. Oh, could I just show one more thing before I finish?
Sure.
It's just a quick slide. I thought this was really important, was this data that I found, which was really shocking, which was on bullying. And I know our school is constantly trying to create a better system for bullying, but I took these two sets of data, which is, do you think the bullying tactics are working at our school? 59% said no, which I think is a really big problem. And then I said, do you think that everyone is being treated equally at our school? And 34% said no, which is also not great. And this is just one of the other things that I just really want to spread the word about, is that we really need to watch out for bullying, because it's just such a thing that goes under the radar and no one notices a lot of times when it happens. So just quickly, I just wanted to say that that's it. And then if anyone else wants to hear more about what I've been doing, which I'd be so happy to hear, this is my email address and my phone number if anyone else wants to hear more about the research I didn't have time to talk about today. So thank you so much for hearing about my area of passion and how I intend to.
I have a whole list of questions, but I won't be able to get to them. So I'll save a minute for Deborah to ask a question, but I will invite you offline to the Innovation World podcast series if you're interested, because there we can go a bit farther. We'll have more time and you can explain it. This is really important. I mean, most of us adults know this. We know our teenagers can't get up when they're supposed to get up for school. We know that it's all out of whack, and it's just this way. It's always been this way. So you've got the data to prove it, and I'm excited about that. And I want to talk more. I just can't talk more about it today. Deborah, I want to give you a chance to squeeze in a question if you have one, though, because I saw you writing as much as I was.
Yeah, I just want to really applaud you, Ray. I think this is, as a fellow Canadian, I'm really proud of you bringing this work forward. And I think that I'm so glad that you've come to this fourth place, which is bringing it global, because I think it's so important for students around the world. My question for you is, all of your work is so important. How do you see, have you given thought to how can you make it come to life in your school? How do you take the ideas and see what can work or bring? I'm just curious about how you bring that forward. Have you thought about that?
So next year I'm going into the 8th grade, and I'm going to have the opportunity to be to run for school council, which I'm really hoping to do, because I really want to just put these changes into place. So I really think it's important for students to be able to succeed at their best. So that's one of the things, and I'm hoping to continue spreading the word by doing presentations like this whenever I can.
Fantastic. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch about that podcast if you're interested.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested. Do you know my email?
I do. I know everything you put on that sheet.
Right. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye.